Hello boys and girls, Busternaut here, and welcome back to another Armored Aces tank review. So today we're taking a look at the T28 Super Heavy, which is an American experimental tank. Well, it is a tank destroyer, but yeah, anyways. First of all, a few words to say about this vehicle. It is very slow, very well armored from the front, and has a very good damage per shot, but this comes with a slow reload time, so it is it has a very specific playstyle. Let's now take a look at the stats and see what happens. 435 damage per shot when fully upgraded, which is very nice. 1180 hit points, again very good, considering the frontal toughness of this vehicle. 7 rounds per minute. That's a weak rate of fire in my opinion, and 90 kilometers per hour engine. This is very weak as well, but that's what you get. And of course 330 meters view range. Now this combination of stats makes this tank good, but there's one more thing that you need to consider. This is a tank destroyer, and it has no turret. This combined with the poor track traverse means that this tank is useless in close combat. Unfortunately, that is the truth. This tank needs to be played as a long range kind of a support vehicle. You cannot go first, and that is very sad. You have all that armor from the front. You get like 30 damage or 40 or 50 damage when hit from the front, even from a mouse and E100 tanks firing at you. So this tank is very tough not to crack, but sadly it cannot be a frontline vehicle, and that's what I learned from it. The reason is that you have very poor track traverse, and when you go up front, the enemies just drive around you and just kill you because your side armor is not so strong as the frontal armor. And yeah, that's what I learned, and it's pretty bad for this vehicle, because otherwise it had such a nice potential with that enormous gun and that good armor. But look at the maneuverability. I mean, it takes an awful lot of time to reverse with this vehicle and to turn it around. It's easily flankable even by E100s, which you are going to see later, but for now let's just see what this gun is capable of. This gun can two-shot IS-2s from the flank. It deals over 500 damage, and the IS-2 has only 1000 and something HP. Well, three-shotted basically, but anything lower than tier 7 is two-shot kill. IS-1s, Panthers, Tiger 1s, everything. 2 shots, it's all you need against those vehicles. Well, fair enough, they have to be in the side, but 2 shots is all you need. Now, when it comes to experimentals, other experimental tanks, this tank has no problem. Just point your frontal armor towards them and you are good to go. They have nothing to do, they have nothing that they can do against you, but just keep your distance, because I mean, look at that, 300 damage to a mouse. So yeah, just keep your distance, because if you go very close to the enemy, they'll just circle you, and it's very annoying, but it happens a lot. So that's something that I learned from playing this vehicle. And don't get too greedy, so to say, and push towards the enemy, because sadly you're going to die without support. And even if you have support, if the enemy tank targets you, it will kill you, because you're so weak when flanked. And yeah, other than that, this tank is very good. Under the right circumstances, you are going to have monster games with this tank, but it just doesn't happen that often that this tank gets the perfect circumstances. Most of your games will be kind of average. I didn't get more than 2500 damage game in this vehicle in a lot of hours trying, so I probably didn't get the perfect game, the perfect map, or the perfect enemy team or whatever, but it just didn't work for me. It doesn't suit my playstyle as well, because I like to push forwards, I like to be maneuverable, to be aggressive basically, and with this tank it doesn't work, because as I mentioned, if you go up front you're just going to get circled and killed. And I almost got stuck here. I was like, what, are you serious right now? Just that little rock is going to trip me. But I got unstuck later on, so everything was fine. But yeah, as I was saying, this tank doesn't suit my playstyle. I like more maneuverable tanks, and I definitely want my tanks to have turrets, because it just doesn't work for me. Or at least, if you are going to make me play without turret, give me better track traverse. But everything suits this vehicle very nicely. The long reload, the big gun, the giant amount of damage, the poor mobility, everything suits this tank perfectly. In my opinion, this tank is balanced, because it was like that. Well, it was a prototype, but it was intended to be like that. I mean, this tank is just weighs an awful lot, so it cannot be maneuverable. It had very big gun, so they gave it a lot of damage, but they reduced the reload speed. So I very like this tank because it's unique. I mean, in the other vehicles, I have mentioned this before as well. In the other vehicles, you just get the same stuff over and over again. Just the higher tiers have better stats, and that's it. There's no uniqueness in the vehicles in this game, in my opinion. But this tank is different. It is unique because it is slow. It doesn't have the speed, which is perfectly normal. It should be even slower, but then it wouldn't be as fun to play, and no one would be playing it. So they've got the perfect balance there. It has damage reduction when shot from the front, and a huge damage reduction, which is a nice way to simulate that this vehicle has armor, and also the giant alpha damage compared with the long reload. I really like this. This vehicle is perfectly balanced and it is unique, so I like it a lot, but sadly it doesn't appeal to me, which doesn't mean that it's a bad vehicle. It's actually really good under the right circumstances, so I highly recommend you checking it out. So this might be your vehicle. It might suit your playstyle, and you might have the perfect game with it. But other than that, there's nothing more that I can say about it. It has weak spots from the front. The commander cupola that you can see on top of it, it's a weak spot. So if you are up close with one of those things, if you're up close with one of those things, just get around it. But if for some reason you cannot, just shoot the commander's cupola. But I've seen how people play those. They play this tank as a long range sniper, and you cannot hit the cupola, so it has no weak spots, and when it fires back at you with that enormous gun, it just obliterates your tank. So that's the right playstyle for it. Just camp at the back and shoot everything that pops into your view range. But that ain't fun for me, so I just drive up close and play it like how should I put that? Like, I mean, I play it actively. I don't camp because that's not my playstyle, but I get punished for it because at close range fights I very often get circled, or if I go up close to the enemy, you know how the enemies are spread, they are not in one position only, and usually when I'm facing one of the enemies, the other one is able to shoot me in the flank, and when I turn towards that enemy, the other one is able to shoot me in the flank. So that's how the majority of my games ended up. Like, so it didn't work very well for me, but I'm sure that if you camp at the back under the right circumstances, if your team is not very good, and if your team doesn't kill the enemy team very fast, you probably will have a great game. But in my opinion, if you just stay back, you're away from the action and you're missing out. Saying for a final time, it's not my type of vehicle. I don't think I'm going to be playing this a lot, just because of the facts that and how the hell did I miss that shot? But anyways, in conclusion, I want to say this: that vehicle is unique. I like it very much. I like the way it looks. I like the way it performs. I like everything about this vehicle, but it is just not my cup of tea. So it is not a bad vehicle. It's a great vehicle, and it isn't for everyone. So I recommend you go ahead and try it out. If it's not for you, well, there are a lot more tanks in this game that you can try out, and if it is for you, you are going to have immense amounts of fun with it, just because the things that this tank can do, no other tanks in the game can do. So I hope I managed to describe it well enough. And those are my personal experiences with that vehicle, and I hope I helped you decide whether or not you want it. And just before I go, I'll show you the final game, which was really the final game that helped me decide that I don't like playing this tank. I like the tank, but I don't like playing it. So that's that. And when I meet those on the battlefield, they really cause me a lot of trouble, because usually the enemies that are playing them right. I often see people camping up here, right on that position, and when I rush into the village up front, they just obliterate me. You saw this in my VK review. I just got blown up by T28s on this ridgeline, but it didn't work for me because I don't like camping. And this tiger's like, come on, what are you waiting at? What are you waiting for? And he's right. I mean, the enemies didn't push that far into the village this time, and I couldn't see them from the ridgeline, so I ended up driving forwards. And it was a nice engagement. I mean, this tank is not so bad when it has support, but later on you will see what I'm talking about. Let's say that you will see more of this Tiger 1 driver in a while. For now, this Panther up front is having a bit of trouble with that Black Prince. Let's punish him. How dare he damage my favorite tank. The Panther, now that I think about it, is almost the same case, but its problems are really the experimentals, so it's not really the same issue with the Panther. I don't play it a lot, now because of the experimentals. I don't think that it is very balanced for them to meet tanks like the Panther and the IS-1, for example. But that's another topic. Let's now enjoy the game. This 100 was sniping me in the side, but now as I turned my front towards him, he's not very confident at all. Put one into his turret and he falls back. Now I'm going forwards, which ended up being a mistake, but yeah. I realized that I'm playing this tank wrong, but I refuse to play it right because it's not fun to camp at the back. So I will just not play it, I guess. But anyways, pushing forwards towards the 100. Now the Tiger one here plays right, tells me to fall back. He's going to go first. There he is. He has more hit points. That makes sense. But the 100 isn't stupid. He's going to come for me. And look at that. I cannot beat the reverse speed of a new 100. I'm helpless at this situation. There it is. Almost got him. Nope. Not gonna get him. You know what, guys? You know that there is something wrong with the tank when it is getting circled by any 100. Yeah. This match right here, this moment, made me realize, oh well, the T28 Super Heavy is just not my cup of tea. I'm sorry, not gonna play that again. So yeah, that is for this tank review. I hope you enjoyed, and once again, it is not a bad tank. I just cannot play the way that it needs to be played. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you a lot for watching, and good luck on the battlefield.